calendar? Well, today, we are going to explore why May 19th is, hands down, one of the most remarkable golden dates in the entire history of mathematics. I mean, it's a day that literally spans centuries and continents, connecting these incredible minds that quietly reshaped our whole world. Okay, let's dive into this. I really want you to think for a second about the hidden, invisible connections hiding right there in your everyday life. Like, what exactly connects the music apps you're listening to, the GPS navigation that gets you to work, and, believe it or not, the very structure of the ancient texts we still read today? On the surface, they seem like completely separate parts of human progress, right? Like they have absolutely nothing to do with each other. But actually, they do. The answers to all of this trace back to the exact same calendar date, May 19th. It sounds crazy, but the invisible architects behind our modern digital lives and our historical knowledge all share a deep connection to this one single day. It's either the day they were brought into the world or the day they left it. So, looking across this massive, sweeping timeline of over 1,200 years, from the year 804 all the way up to 1962, we're going to see how the mathematics tied to May 19th completely evolved. We'll be taking a journey from preserving really fragile ancient texts all the way up to launching spacecraft and cracking the universe's absolute hardest codes. Let's start right at the beginning. All right, here is our first mystery. Why are the fonts on our screens, the books we read, and the text messages we type so wonderfully easy to decipher instead of just being a confusing, solid block of unspaced capital letters? Because, fun fact, before the 9th century, that is literally what reading was like. A total headache. Section 1. Alcuin of York, the monk who saved text. So Alcuin of York, who passed away on May 19th, 804, was this brilliant English mathematician and teacher at Charlemagne's palace school. And he developed something called the Carolingian minuscule script. Basically, he created a super clear, highly readable lowercase script, complete with actual spaces between words. I know, revolutionary, right? This simple, math-like logic replaced all those old jumbled capital letters, which directly made it possible to freshly copy and preserve ancient Greek mathematical works that definitely would have been lost to history otherwise. He famously noted that the seeds he sowed in Britain and France were growing, and wow, did they grow. Those seeds give us the clear letters we read every single day. Think about that for a second. Every readable sentence you type on your phone today is a direct legacy of this 9th century monk. Pretty wild. Okay, now let's jump ahead in time a bit. How does local mathematical knowledge, ideas that are isolated in just one part of the world, transform into a global powerhouse of shared information? Like, how do vastly different cultures suddenly realize they are actually speaking the exact same mathematical language? Moving on to number 2, Mei Juecheng, bridging East and West. Born on May 19, 1681, Mei Juecheng was a completely brilliant court mathematician to the Chinese emperor. At the time, European missionaries had brought Western algebra over to China, but there was, understandably, some resistance to it. Well, Mei Juecheng studied both the new European algebra and the nearly lost ancient Chinese mathematics, and this brilliantly illustrates his genius. By compiling the massive treasury of mathematics, he proved that although the symbols looked completely different, these two distant systems were actually the exact same logical language. And here is the deeply satisfying takeaway. Math is a universal language that has absolutely no borders. Centuries before the internet even crossed anyone's mind, Mei Juecheng proved that human logic and mathematics act as the ultimate global bridge. Jumping forward into the modern era, here is a question we kind of just take for granted every day. How do invisible Wi-Fi and radio signals actually travel clearly through empty air straight into your phone? What is the invisible architecture that's actually carrying our data? Section 3. Joseph Larmor, the secret of signals. Joseph Larmor, who died on May 19th, 1942, was the absolute pioneer who uncovered how signals actually move through space. He developed the foundational theory of the electron and figured out how they orbit in a magnetic field. And so the crucial point is, he calculated the rate of energy radiation from an accelerating electron. That fundamental math is literally the exact physics that makes all of our modern wireless communication possible today. Because he completely reconstructed physics on the foundation of the electron, every single wireless message you send is riding on the invisible waves he calculated. So next time you're surfing the web or streaming a song on your phone, remember, your device is totally relying on Joseph Larmor's math. All right, let's keep moving. Here's another mystery sitting right there in your pocket. Why does your phone's GPS always manage to find the fastest route, even when you're driving through a huge city with hundreds of intersecting roads and constantly changing traffic? How does it never just get completely overwhelmed by all that messy data? Number 4, Rudolf Kalman, the math behind GPS. Born on May 19, 1930, Rudolf Kalman is essentially the genius behind our modern navigation systems. Back in the early 1960s, he developed the Kalman filter. Now, what's that? Well, it's a mathematical technique to take really messy, noisy data signals and clean them up into highly accurate tracking paths. It was actually so revolutionary that it helped guide the Apollo spacecraft all the way to the moon. And today, that exact same math filters out the errors on your smartphone's GPS, so your location stays perfectly accurate. It really is amazing when you think about it. You never get lost because a mathematical filter is always quietly guiding your way. This is just a perfect example of how super high-level mathematics translates directly into our everyday convenience. And that leads us to our final historical figure for today. We know math builds our everyday tools, sure, but who solves the ultimate, unbreakable puzzles of pure mathematics? You know, the kind of really deep number theory that eventually goes on to protect our entire digital world? Section 5, Richard Taylor, the ultimate number detective. Born on May 19, 1962, Richard Taylor is quite literally the modern number detective. He was super instrumental in helping to finally prove Fermat's last theorem. And guys, that was a problem that had completely stumped mathematicians for over 350 years. No way, right? But what Taylor does so brilliantly is he takes completely different, seemingly unrelated branches of mathematics and connects them together to solve these centuries-old problems that most experts thought were just plain impossible. And that leaves us with this really powerful thought. The most impossible puzzles of the past are the keys to the mathematical future. Pure math puzzles might seem super abstract at first glance, but unlocking them eventually unlocks our understanding of the entire universe. So from a monk in the 9th century saving written text to a brilliant mind bridging the East and the West, from the early pioneers of wireless signals and GPS navigation all the way to a modern solver of ancient, unbreakable puzzles, every single one of them is connected by just one date on the calendar, May 19th. So it really makes you wonder, what future math breakthrough is being born today, on this very date, just waiting to change our world? Thank you so much for exploring this incredibly golden day in history with me. And hey, keep looking for the math hiding in your everyday life.